Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Jacqueline Toll, and I'm one of the founders of Kingdom Economic Builders, a community of faith-based entrepreneurs, business owners, investors, and visionaries who believe that your business is a calling, not just a career. And we're here to equip you with the practical, spiritual, and strategic tools you need to grow with boldness and biblical integrity. I'm joined today by my amazing co-founder, Heather North. Say hello.
Hello.
And we're honored also to have two of our affiliate partners with us today, Seth with Morning Tea with Jesus and Adam from Final Hour Faith. So we are so grateful to have each of you here with us and part of the conversation today that we're going to be having. And today we have the absolute pleasure of interviewing Larry Wood, a respected voice and teacher on the topic of the wealth transfer. Larry has dedicated his work to helping believers understand the times we are in, how to prepare for what's unfolding, and how to steward resources with wisdom, responsibility, and kingdom purpose. This conversation is not just about money, it's about preparation, positioning, and responsibility. So we believe this is a critical moment for clarity, alignment, and action. And we're honored to have Larry with us today to share his insight and perspectives. So let's get into this.
This thing blows up because the dinar is going to come in during a time of great financial upheaval, which I think is going to start very soon. But about the dinar, okay, it's like the dinar is, I just have total faith in it. And I'll just tell you, and I've said this before, my wife doesn't really believe in it. And, but the one thing that she and I could believe in was precious metals. And, we really leaned into it really hard. And you can't tell our family that the wealth transfer isn't going. But I think that what's so crazy is how God allows everything to go up, then it goes back down. It's just like, hey, lunk, even though it's not one of my primary things, it's definitely a prophetic opportunity in the future, and it goes up and then it comes back down. That's what silver did for so long, and I think silver is kind of leading the way, but it's going to go way beyond. The dinar is the only investment that I've seen from Kim Clements Wells that you're either in or you're out. And if you're not prepared, you're done. And I am not buying any more silver, even though I still believe you can get a 10x or more out of it. But I can see other things where I believe that Kim Clement saw 500 and even 1000x returns. And that's how I would characterize the dinar. So I had the uncomfortable conversation with my wife today. I said, we've already got a lot of dinar. I don't really want to buy anything else right now, but I'm willing to back up this investment with silver. So I'm gonna buy some more dinar so we can be generous. And if it doesn't work out and you're mad at me for doing it, then I'll sell some silver to cover that few $1,000s of dinar. But what are your guys' opinions? Not to make you embarrassed, because you're a very, very rare person if you believe in it, and you might have questions about it. And I think I know a fair bit. I've had a number of dreams about it, 3 dreams about it.
Well, the Lord kind of called me to invest in Dinar in early 2021. So that's just kind of where I've been sitting, and he revealed to me a couple other foreign currencies to also invest
Which
in.
ones?
Vietnamese dong, the Zim bond, and
You had a
so
dream about the Zim bond?
I didn't have a dream about it, but I felt like I got confirmation in prayer to invest in
Oh,
Zim.
okay.
I may have just thrown my money away, but it's like, hey, what with any other investment, you got to take some risks sometimes. So I felt confident about it, and I've just been sitting on it. So if it revalues, it revalues. If it doesn't, it's okay. It's just kind of where I'm at this point. But I do feel like the dinar, like you said, could come soon, and I feel more confident about it right now as far as timing in light of what's happening geopolitically in the world. So
Do you know that it's in the headlines that both Syria and before the apparent regime change in Iran, do you realize in um, big newspapers around the world, Syria and Iran have scheduled redenomination, is what they call it. They say that's not revalue because that's a conspiracy theory, but we're going to, there, the real of Iran right now is 1,000,004 to €1. And so they're going to lop a bunch of zeros off. But the current leaders won't be the future leaders there. So there is, for those of you who want to see it with your eyes, look at the future plans of both Syria and Iran. They're going, I would call it a revaluation because they're going to cut zeros off their thing. But
That's exciting.
Adam, you were talking about that.
Yeah, no worries. So the Lord told me originally about Dinar back in 2024, and then I got a word on it 2025 that I put on my channel. And he recently had me late last year double the position that I was in. And he has been talking about it nonstop since the second week of November, nonstop. And I don't like to give out dates or time frames because you know how that goes if it doesn't work out that way, but for the revalue. So as Jacqueline and I were discussing it one day, she shared with me a dream that she had. If you want to share that real quick, Jacqueline, then I can kind of bounce off that.
Sure. Essentially, I was in a foreign country, and I think I was in Denmark just because the language that I was hearing being spoken on the television sounded kind of like Danish, but I can't be sure because I don't speak that language. And essentially, I was watching a news broadcast on the television, and on the television set, they were showing index funds and a huge crash that was happening. Everything was in the red. They had a graph up, and it just looked like a straight down decline. And one of the weird things on that is that Klaus Schwab was actually on the screen listed as an index fund. I know he doesn't have an index fund, but I think it was symbolic of things. And
The
yeah,
future of the World Economic Forum is not very good. I mean, that's pretty funny. That's a great dream.
but there was a date in that, and I'm not going to speak the date, but essentially, because in Europe and that side of the world, they always put the day before the month. And in America, we do the
Yeah.
month before the day. So I
Yeah.
I thought the date that was given was American, and that date has come and gone. But the one that if you switch the numbers, that date is still in play. So I don't know. We'll see if something really does happen on that date, but it's coming up.
Yep. And I had a dream early last year, almost a year ago, of literally the same date that
The
Jacqueline
exact
had.
same date. Yeah.
Exact same date. I'm not going to give the date, obviously, but in the dream, I was sitting in front of my computer screen and there was a big green buy button. I hit the buy button once, and then I saw my balance on the screen shoot up to 2 million, and then I hit it again, and it shot up to 13 million. And then I heard the Lord say, "Mark the day you become a millionaire." And that was the date that I had looked at my computer screen, and it was the same date that she saw. Other than that, she also had a dream where she was interceding. I believe you said you were interceding for a nation, and you pulled a principality off the throne, and then an angel
Yeah.
took its place, right?
Hmm.
And as we were talking about this, just talking about the dinar in general, I immediately just got a flood of information, just a crazy download. And the Lord almost gave me the exact same vision that Brandon Biggs had. I don't know if you saw his channel recently, but he saw the Prince of Persia standing in Iran, reaching over into the boundary of Iraq, and he had his hands dug up in the soil, and he could see the dinar bills coming between his fingertips, and he saw that the grip of that principality was loosening. I had almost the exact same vision. And then literally a couple of weeks after that, all the events in Iran started coming into play. And basically the download I believe the Lord gave me was that as he's using Trump to overthrow these regimes, the principalities on the throne over those nations get overthrown as the dictatorship gets overthrown. And obviously Iran is modern day Persia, not Iraq. But the principality was reaching over the boundary and gripping the currency of the neighboring nation. So I believe as we see, and how this is all going to play out, I have no idea. That's way above my pay grade. But I believe as we see Iran being overthrown and just whoever Trump puts in place there and just revival break out because the principality is being kicked off, that could play a part in how and when the dinar actually revalues. That's kind of the picture that he's been giving me about it.
So I am in the dinar and a few other currencies as well. Um, he's given Jacqueline and I a few different words about it, but then also this last fall, I started dreaming about foreign currencies and the dinar and and the what is it? Dong, Vietnamese
Yeah.
dong. And I think the last one that I had was about foreign currencies, and it was an IRS letter that I received stating revaluation, which I just kind of got a random. Anyhow, so it was an IRS letter saying that the revaluation has happened. And then on the TV, it said foreign currencies revaluation, which is really funny because I'm taking tax classes right now through the IRS.
It's one of the things that he told me in the word that I got early last year was to make sure you set aside your tax money before you do anything, because that's going to be a pitfall for a lot of people that get greedy. They're going to not pay their taxes, and then the IRS is going to come and scoop them up. That's what I heard.
Well, I'm almost wondering if it could potentially be a timeline thing. Like, because I received the letter in the mail from the IRS, saying that the reval has happened. At the time, I didn't know that I would be doing like classes on taxes this time of year, and you guys are thinking it soon. So, anyhow, that's just like how you speculate. That's a speculation.
You know what I think is so interesting about the Dinar, because it's of what Kim Clement prophesied about. It's a very unique thing, and it seems extremely irrational, and it's very offensive. Most people like, come on, Larry, pull your head out. You can't believe that kind of stuff. But there is a historical perspective of it. Happened with Kuwait, and it's happened actually numerous times in life. But what's interesting is there's a prophetic community and there's a patriot community that really believe in it, and so there are truthers who talk about it all the time. And there's people like Mark Z and stuff that people watch. I don't watch him, but I have watched him, so I know. But one of the most fascinating things that happened in the last week is that one of the truthers, sometimes that there's a few people who know things and they can't really say, but because patriots are not receiving prophecies, we can release the prophecies, but they can't release the truth. But I saw a guy who, at the very end of an interview, he said, well, Venezuela falling was a marker, and that that was a marker to the RV. He said the RV could not happen until after Venezuela. And when he said that, I instantly knew that that was totally true. And it wasn't supposed to be a big part of the thing, but it was just like whack. It just hit me. And I used to not believe there'd be this whole basket of currencies, but now I do believe. I'm going to show you. It's kind of weird. It's kind of funny that I have this. I just bought Dinar. So it's kind of funny that I have this is $2,000 worth of Dinar. I bought it last month, and it came, and I had it in my desk. But I also got, because I bought it from this company, I don't know if you can hardly see these, but these are $1 million bolivars, which were worth not even nothing. This wasn't worth a used piece of tissue. And then I got a bunch of this is hilarious. It's $10 billion from the Bank of Zimbabwe, which
Yep.
but I think it's real money. But I just wonder if all these, when you guys were saying about like the smallest thing, I used to not have faith for it, but I'm not throwing away those extra currencies. But I do believe, I do intellectually know they aren't even worth a penny, altogether last month. But I wonder what they might be worth next month, because it's not going to be the Americans that are going to do this. I'll just remind you of what Kim Clement's prophecies were. There's two major ones about the dinar. There's a huge correlation with the Dow racing to 20,000. Everybody always assumed it would be the Dow on the way up. Now we've got to like 47,000. So it's actually going to be the Dow racing down to 20,000. When Donald Trump was elected, the Dow was at 17,000. And like within 2 months of him coming online, maybe it was at this time of the year, March of his first year, which would have been or nine, I don't know, 7 years ago, whatever it was. The Dow went right past 20,000 in the first 6 months of his tenure, and everybody, all the people who were in, thought the dinar was going to go then, but now we realize it's when it crosses it the second time on the way down. The second thing that's so fascinating, that's the biggest correlation that was just impossible to understand, is Kim said there's going to be a break in the financial system of the Middle East. And the real has absolutely fallen. Syria's currency is all messed up. They need to revalue. Iraq's currency is all messed up, and they need to revalue. So the whole the whole area, I just think that like it could have never happened until now, but I love believing in it, and I have a lot more faith because precious metals have done so well, and so I have some more margin too. That if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I really believe, and I think it will elevate people. I think that people will have influence because they did believe in it, and I think so many people in the world will be, well, I heard about that, but I thought that was so stupid. And there's going to be an elevation of people who believe in the prophetic because they're people of faith that are established in this time. And, you guys are all part of that.
I had a dream last fall about, or no, it wasn't a dream. I was falling asleep and God was like, "Can I show you something?" And I said, "Sure." And it was the Dow dumping, just spiraling down. And I was like, "Okay, Lord, like, when is this going to happen?" And he said, "I can't tell you that, but I'll let you know to have cash in position beforehand."
So I do think that when that happens, I've had a dream of Wall Street crashing. And then I saw, which is a weird thing, and a lot of people wouldn't necessarily understand this, but I saw the bond market crashing. So what's going to happen is people will not be able to borrow money. And Kim Clement also prophesied about, and most people aren't talking about this, but he prophesied about a forgiveness of debt. And I'm not paying it. I'm going to keep making my payments like I always do, but I believe it's all going to be forgiven. And why do I want to? If everybody's, I think everybody's going to be in such a tough spot. But Kim Clement, numerous times, extremely clearly, one of the biggest things he said is there will be forgiveness of debt. It really seems really clear that that's what Kim Clement alludes to. So anyway, that's an interesting perspective. So we're not paying our debt off, and you can't chide somebody for choosing to do it, but that's not what we're going to do. Do you guys agree or do you disagree with that? I mean, I welcome pushback. It's one of the things I think I love. I don't even know you guys. I really like you, but we have to be able to have pushback. We need to have spirited debate and different perspectives, and we need to be big people that can take, hey, I think you're full of it. I don't believe that. So
I
anybody,
agree with it. Jacqueline was at the beginning of last year that he was talking a lot about debt forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to happen. I think once that does happen, there's going to be a lot of changes that get implemented. And so there may be difficulty on the other side of that.
I think it will have to do with them uncovering some stuff that has to do with how they have taken advantage of the American people through taxes and other means, and how that they have just kind of wasted our money and wanted more and more and more, and we really didn't have a say in it. So I think through this whole cleanup process of what is happening within our country in particular, I think that is where the debt forgiveness might possibly come in. And then if you think about it, if we go back to that executive order that you were talking about, let's say some of these banking industries, these major banks, say they're implicated in one way or another, and they find out through this investigation that is being opened up, like, could that potentially open the door up to the debt forgiveness because the bank is on the verge of going under?
so I'm just going to speak to that because you brought Executive Order 18148 again. Kim Clement prophesied that there's going to be two, he did this in 2005, there's going to be two banking crises that happen, and then one happened in '08. The second one hasn't happened yet. He goes, when it happens, there will be a Damascus Road experience for three news corporations. And the behind the scenes thing for why those three news corporations have a Damascus Road experience is because I believe they'll say, all right, we got the keys. Because a lot of Americans, it's going to take CNN or Fox, if they're conservative, to say it, or it's not true. I mean, even though we are becoming, and people like us who have enormous channels, the Joe Rogans or whoever, Julie Greens, they're the people. Amanda Grace are really influencing culture now. But Kim foresaw that three news networks would begin to tell the truth about the financial failure of the second. And I think we're right on the cusp of that. And I think silver is leading the way for that financial catastrophe.
Yeah.
And I think that the next 2 weeks are going to be, so I just ordered my dinar, my last order of the dinar, at least of this month. There's going to be so many people who knew the right way. And, it says in the Bible, it's appointed unto man once to die and then the judgment. But there's no death for the people who don't participate in the wealth transfer. But there are going to be a lot of regrets. And there are multi-generational deficiencies that are going to be created because people didn't have faith to step into what could have been, or people will missteward what amazing things come their way, and in one decade or 1 3-year period they'll blow it, and they'll ruin future generation access. So it's really super important to have people that you can hang out with and run this path together with. It's so much easier when you're running with people who have the same problem. Nobody else wants to talk about it. Nobody's going to want to talk about your winnings, except when you get together with other people who won as well. That's why people are going to love. It's like talking about travel. When you talk to people, most people don't want to talk about travel unless they've been there, and then they want to talk about it. So I've so enjoyed getting to meet you guys.
Yeah, this was amazing.
Yes, it was amazing. And it was very organic. I thought that was great. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you so much, Seth, for introducing me. Adam, you got to talk more next time. And Jacqueline and Heather, it's been so much fun to meet you. So thank you so much. You guys have a great one.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you,
Okay.
Larry. Appreciate
Bye,
it.
Larry.
Take
Bye.
care.